It's another terrible day for the Prime Minister, with a car crash interview here on Sky, plus something even worse. Anthony Albanese tried to deny in Sky News to Peter Stefanovic that even the Reserve Bank now says his big spending is driving up inflation, driving up interest rates and making you poorer.
This is the quote here from the RBA. Public demand is forecast to be stronger than previously expected, reflecting recent public spending announcements by federal and state governments. Are you saying they're wrong?
Yeah, that's very different. That's very different from the way that you characterised it, Peter. We've made sure fiscal policy, budget policy works arm in arm with monetary policy.
Well, that's not working at all because the RBA and Treasury are brawling at the moment.
That's not true, Peter.
Well, you're saying completely different things.
We agree that inflation... No, we're not. No, we're not.
Peter was clearly right, the Prime Minister dead wrong. The Reserve Bank on Tuesday was clear when it said inflation was on a slower return to target than forecast in May, and this is due to greater inflationary pressures in the economy. In part, this owes to a stronger outlook for domestic demand, led by higher public demand. Higher public demand means higher government spending, and that's hurting us. Now that, of course, was the most obvious embarrassment today for the government. Albanese either he doesn't understand how his big spending is hurting Australians, or he's lying. But there was another embarrassment, and in some ways more serious. This one involves billions of dollars of your money and the real risk the lights will go out. Now today, this news that SunDrive, an Australian company trying to invent a new solar panel, has had to cut maybe 50 staff and change bosses. What a surprise. Because last March, Albanese and Energy Minister Chris Bowen told us they were going to spend $1 billion of your money to get companies here to make solar panels, even though China makes them much, much cheaper. And they said this same SunDrive was getting some of that cash because it was the future.
That SunDrive has developed is the most efficient in the world. Why wouldn't you take that opportunity and have a future made right here in Australia? And that's what the $1 billion Sunshot program is about.
And Albanese also made this promise.
The people standing behind us will never be out of work, because what they're doing is training for the jobs of today.
Instead, this same company that was with him right at that press conference, and one that Albanese's already given $11 million to already, is now dumping workers just 4 months later. Although the company does claim, oh, we're still charging ahead. And this bad bet is a pattern. The Albanese government is spending madly on wild green schemes, looking for something, anything renewable that could replace the electricity that's going to be lost when it closes all our coal-fired power stations, the ones that's driving out of business. But it's been failure after failure. For instance, the Snowy Mountains pumped hydro scheme, now about 10 times over budget, hopelessly behind. Wind power that's also way behind schedule, with wind droughts and local protests against building more. And it gets even worse. Albanese and Chris Bowen, they've bet the bank on green hydrogen made by using massive amounts of electricity through, put it through water and get the gas, even though this has never been proved to work commercially at scale.
Our green hydrogen future is fundamental to that clean energy future as a powerhouse.
The green hydrogen sector has an enormous potential in this country.
Oh, it's fundamental, it's the future, but now the country's biggest private investor in green hydrogen, billionaire Andrew Forrest, is walking away from most of his own hydrogen plans, saying green hydrogen turns out to be just too expensive. Now, Albanese and Bowen didn't just promise to spend billions on green hydrogen schemes. They even promised very specifically they'd make the new Kurri Kurri gas plant in New South Wales use hydrogen. Months later, the plant operator said, no, it was impossible, another dud. But still, this government wouldn't get the message and promised even more of your money.
This budget invests in our renewable energy superpower ambitions, including $13.7 billion in production tax incentives for green hydrogen and processed critical minerals.
So here's this government wasting billions of your dollars on harebrained green schemes, including unproven technologies, with the clock running out, so it's getting so desperate now that Bowen even suggested last month we could hook up all the batteries in electric cars, if you have them, to power the electricity system when we're short. I mean, seriously. Yet all the while, this same government is now saying no to nuclear power, which is safe, it's efficient, it's proven. I mean, Bowen's even scoffing at the opposition's interest in new generation small nuclear reactors, or SMRs.
SMR, someday may be reality. I mean, if Peter Dutton really wants to bank Australia's energy policy, put all his energy policy on this science fiction pipe dream.
A pipe dream, Chris Bowen? In fact, there's news now that China is steaming ahead with nuclear power to lead the world with it, and it's just about to finish building the world's first commercial small modular nuclear reactor onshore, which it thinks will be a world beater.
This nuclear power plant, which uses the world's first modular small reactor technology, has completely rewritten the traditional definition of nuclear power plants. With the increasing global demand for clean energy, nuclear energy, as an efficient and low-carbon energy form, will occupy an increasingly important position in the future energy structure.
That's the future this government has turned its back on, blowing our billions instead on wild green schemes that are already collapsing. And this could hurt us even more than the Albanese government making inflation even worse with its spending. And I know that is saying a lot.